Welcome to What Can a Mom Do chat. Today we're going to conduct a year in review. As the year comes to an end, we have started to look back and take stock of what has been happening in our lives in 2020, what went well, what really didn't, what we proud of, and what we deeply regret. We're going to discuss the questions and use the insight to improve 2021. Today, we want to prepare you. We also want to prepare ourselves for a more fulfilling and fruitful life in 2021 for God's glory. And I'm not alone. I have the privilege to host on this program of What Can a Mom Do Chat, a lovely, wonderful woman of God. Sister Donna Williams, thank you for being on this program. How are you
Thank you.
today?
I am well, and thank you for the privilege of coming on the program and having the conversation. I thank you.
I want to introduce Sister Donna Williams a little bit because she's amazing. She does great things for the kingdom of God. She is a mom. She is a mom, and her kids are grown up. She is a grandmom as well. And she served as a member of the First Lady Conference Advisory Board, headed by Dr. Lois Evans for 7 years. She loves to encourage women of faith to stretch and grow in their faith. She was also the host of a radio talk show, Ladies Night, on which is an online Christian talk radio for 4 years. She has a blog. She has a blog where she writes articles to encourage, once again, women. She is a Bible teacher and speaker. She has self-published 2 books, and a podcast, Thinking Out Loud with Donna, can be found on Apple Podcasts. Current series, The Journey of Grief, When Nothing Is Normal Anymore. She currently facilitates a pastor's widows support group. She also facilitates 2 secular book clubs, one for women and the other one for children and youth. Both introduce the African American timeline in America through literatures. Donna currently serves in her church, Destiny Christian Fellowship, Ferment, CA, as the co-leader of the women's ministry and is also one of Destiny's worship leaders. Wow, I am so privileged to have such a woman of God with me on this program. Without delaying, Donna, let me ask you this question. Are you looking forward to enter 2021?
Words to enter 20. Have I found some words as I think about entering 2021? I think the word that comes to me that I don't hear very often, I follow a woman on Facebook. I've just found her on Facebook, and she does a daily live. And I've just absolutely fallen in love with her. Her name is Jo Saxton. She's an author, a publisher, and I had never heard of her. And I discovered her. And as we move into the Advent season, the first thing she started with last week was hope. Hope. And I thought about that. Hope. What is hope? Well, it has to be more than wistful thinking. Oh, I hope this happens. Oh, I hope that. The Bible defines it as confident expectation. I am sure that God is working in this and he will bring it to pass. And she said, what's your definition of hope? Asking her audience. And I thought about it. Hope is getting up each day and intentionally doing what has to be done, what needs to be done as we wait for change. It's getting up and doing what you have to do, what you need to do as you wait for change. Not so much focused on when will things change, but asking yourself, what do I need to do now? What should I do now? That's my hope in this moment, to accomplish that thing today, in this moment, while I wait for change. Change is in God's hands. I can't get caught up in trying to fix anything. I think this season has taught us we cannot fix anything. We thought we could. We thought we had control. And then COVID happened, and here in the States, we've had, all of the political uproar, the racial divide, and we realized that we have no control, that we must absolutely depend on the God that we profess to believe is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we can ask or think, according to the power that is in us. Now we need to step into what we've been professing. We need to possess what we've been professing all these years as believers.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great. So, would you say that 2020 with COVID-19 has been more of a difficult, a challenging year for you, or it's been more of an opportunity to achieve what God has called you to do?
It's been a blend of two. When COVID first happened in March, or when the school shut down, I worked for a school as a family liaison. I worked getting the parents involved. And they shut the school down almost immediately. One week they were talking about COVID. The next week, the school was shut down. They went to distance learning. I was a family liaison, but my role was kind of, put on the back burner because they didn't need me to get families involved. They were doing it themselves. The teachers were doing it. Administration was doing it. So I was kind of that person that was just sitting there going, I wish I had something to do. I wish I had something. Now that part of that was pride. And I had to recognize that. That was pride. Well, I'm just as good as the rest of you guys. Why aren't you giving me anything to do? But from March to June, I was just communications. If they needed emails to get out to families and things, that's what I did. And so I was a little frustrated in that. Again, pride. I'm important. I bring value to this. I can do this work. But when June hit, I realized that I had been wrestling with that which was not important. Yeah. It was not key to kingdom work. Yeah. If I call myself one who is an encourager, and I believe that's one of my gifts, is gift of encouragement, then how can I encourage? So I had to shift from that attitude of I am Donna, you need this, you need me, to what can I give back to people who are hurting, who are floundering, who are frustrated that these things are no longer in place, who have suffered great loss. What can I bring? So it's been an opportunity for me to begin to be even more vocal through social media platforms or whatever other platform that's available to me to encourage that, okay, this is a season. Yeah. This is a season. It's a new normal for sure, but it's a season. And and as believers, what can we do not only to encourage ourselves, but to those who really don't know God as we say we know God? What can I do? And one of the things that I did, you talked about the secular book club that I have. I went on a group page that I'm a part of. I don't know why. One Sunday morning I woke up. I usually don't look at social media or Facebook. And I went to this group page and there was a little boy holding a card. This has to do with the racial issues in America. And he was holding a cardboard sign that said, I matter too. And someone had posted this on this page, and it was a page for Christian women. And the comments that came that were in total opposition to this post. And I couldn't post anymore because they blocked comments. So I posted it separately. That wound up in a thread of people and women wanting to know, what can I do? What can I do? I don't know enough. And I thought, okay, here's what I will do. I'm an English major. I was an English major many years ago. So here's what I will do. I will put out, if you want to be a part of a book club, these were Caucasian women. If you want to be a part of a book club that visits the African-American timeline in America, then I'll put one together. And I did. And in the beginning, many women, about 25, 30 women said, I'm in. But the closer we got to it, the more they began to back away from it. And I get it, it's a challenge. And they didn't know me. And they didn't know if I was going to come with, I am Donna, hear me roar, or if I was going to be kind. But I have now five women who have been consistent in the book club and learning and having the conversations. And I tell them, this is for your growth. This is not for me. This is for you to take what you're learning to go back to that individual who is willing to listen and have the conversation. So there's that group that people would call secular, although these women are all believers. also reaching out to women who are just wrestling with this season, just saying, and I'm saying, God says you can do it. Not me, but God says you can do it. I can't fix it. You can't fix it. God is still sovereign. So that praise song, turn your eyes on Jesus, look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. And so we have to shift our focus. So it's been opportunity. It was frustration in the beginning, but it's been opportunity now.
Great. So good to hear that. So what would you think has been your greatest achievement in 2020?
I think my greatest achievement has been not being anxious or stressed. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense. But I tell people I'm wired for worry. Yeah. I am the person who can worry about anything. That and fear. And I've wrestled with fear. Fear that wasn't rational, but everything made me fearful. A new thing made me fearful. Having to make a decision made me fearful. It was just, and I think, they talk about generational curses. I don't think it was generational curse, but my mother was like that. She worried a lot and she worried out loud. And I think I have just taken that on. And so I've learned to back away from fear. God's got this and God's got me, and I'm going to trust God in it. But I've also learned to just move forward, just one day at a time, moment by moment, one step at a time, trusting God to lead me where he wants me to go. And so there have been frustrations where I went, but I want to do it this way. God, I want this to happen. And he's going, I have these conversations with God in my head. I know people are like, what do you mean he's going? But he's saying, really, Donna, you just need to chill. You just need to back off and allow me to do what I'm best at doing, and that's being God.
Amen. I love this answer. I wasn't expecting that to be honest. This is great, And what would you say that has been your biggest mistake into 2020? Or your failure, something that you're not really proud of?
My biggest mistake has been, again, and it locks back into pride, thinking that I should be that person that you call on, that person that you need, that person that I have the answer. And I have to say, all my life, I've been that overachiever.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I've been that overachiever. I've been that person that whatever it is you need me to do, I can do it. And I can do it all by myself. And I've discovered as things have shifted and as things have changed, that I have to realize that I'm not indispensable. A teacher told me this years and years ago. And I remember this, that we may think we're indispensable, that we are the only one that can make this happen.
Yeah.
And coming to the realization that I'm not indispensable, that whatever the place is, it's a place I have to trust God has designed for me and not one I'm designing for myself. Yeah. And so I had to back off of thinking you need me. When, even God doesn't need me. He chooses to use me. Yeah. I'm grateful. But I had to move back from thinking I'm necessary in this place, in this space. And God is saying, no, that's not where I want you. And we can engage in this tug of war back and forth. But God, I want to be over here. Yeah. This is where I want to be. And he's saying, nope, don't want you over there. I want you over here. And so if it's anything, it's been one of my biggest challenges. One of my biggest challenges not to be petty. Do you know what I mean by being petty? By being petty in my head, right? I can wear the mask, but being petty in my head and backing off from the thoughts and backing off from the judgment and recognizing that if that person is in that place doing that thing, I have to believe it's because God has designed it for them and not for me. Yeah. And I have to trust that God has a place for me. Until then, I'll continue to do what I know he wants me to do in this season.
That's really good to hear. Would you say that God has helped you in achieving your, your greatest achievement in 2020? And how would you say that, in a practical way? Like a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, God helped me." It's important that people who don't know Christ understand. Okay,
Mhm.
what do they mean by God help me?
Yeah.
Those difficult times, or how did God help me achieve those goals? So, would you describe
Right.
us briefly? How do you think God helped you in 2020?
I think God has helped me to be more, to take things step by step by step. I'm not like that. When I worked and they said, okay, this is a year, we need to see your goals, drove me crazy. I'm awful at writing out goals. I didn't want to. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. This year, God says, yeah, this year, God says, no, you will do things in order. You won't be all over the place. And I think a lot of times that's what we do. Oh, God called me to do this. And we just start doing
Yeah.
because we think that planning is not how God operates. But absolutely, that's how God operates. God operates step by step by step by step. When Moses led the children out of Israel, God didn't say, okay, go in there, tell Pharaoh, let my people go. And then you go ahead and lead them out.
Yeah.
He gave them directions. And so
Yeah.
I think what we have to do, at one point on my daily lives, I thought people don't talk about, or I don't hear in ministries, conversation about being a disciple of Christ,
Yeah.
not as much as I used to hear it. And so I said, okay, we need to go back to the disciplines of a disciple, step by step by step by step. It's not just, I'm a disciple of Christ. I've memorized some scriptures. I know I can find the books in the Bible. If you send me to one of those, minor prophets, I don't have to go to the index and see where they are. I can go right there. It has to be more than that. It has to be organized. There is a principle called SMART goals, and it's an acronym about what goals should be. And I believe as a follower of Christ, when you place your goals, when you write out everything, we're big on saying, write the vision, make it plain. And so you write your vision out, but there have to be steps. But before you take those steps, you lay it out before the Lord. Say, Lord, now, here's what I've gone through. Here's the steps. Here's how I'm seeing how this will happen. You have to plan. You must plan. You just can't on a whim say, I'm going to make this happen. And then once you plan A, B, C, D, E, F, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you said, this is the mission. What's your mission statement? What's the point of whatever it is you're planning to do? What's the reason that you're doing it? Why are you choosing to do it? What do you hope to happen?
Yeah.
The statement. And then the steps, and then lay it out before God. Be prayerful. And don't take a step until you know God has said yes to this, no to that, yes to this. He has given you direction. So God helping you is like that. Writing out, you believe, see, we have great ideas about what we think God is calling us to. I have so many things. Oh, I can do this and I can do that and I can do the other. And I'm ready for this and ready for that. I haven't even asked God, is this what you want me to do?
Yeah.
I just, we have to ask ourselves, did this come from God?
Yeah.
Or did this come from Donna?
Yeah.
So we have to be organized and we have to be disciplined and we have to trust God with the plan.
Okay.
And then once he gives us the go ahead, then we go ahead.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. That was pretty much. And we do that. We come up with our plans and we just tell God, here they are. We're going to do this.
Right.
And we're not expecting Him to say, come on, you need to wait. So that's pretty.
Right.
That's
Well,
pretty,
wait is the most difficult thing for us to do. We don't like to wait.
we don't like to wait.
We don't like to wait. Wait is like we're in bondage. God says wait, and we go, no, no, no. I need to do it now. I need to get into it now. God said, no, stop.
Gotta wait. Yes. So, have you had people in your life, and I know in your life, specifically in 2020, that you look up to as role model and how did they show support to you in this global, pandemic in 2020? Um,
I'm in a season, and I've asked myself this often. In a season, I had a birthday a couple of weeks ago, a couple of days before Thanksgiving. And I'm in a season where I'm almost the person that people look to, right? That I think about, I read back how people, when they were working, they had mentors and they had people who came alongside. And I thought in my career life, I never had mentors that I know, not a formal mentorship on the job where people came and said, let's talk about how you're doing this and how. So I never had mentors like that. When my husband started pastoring, he was my mentor. Because I came into this thing of pastor's wife as a church girl. Church girl meaning I was raised in the church, but I didn't have a relationship with God. Totally different. And so I knew how to do all the church work. Didn't know what that relationship with God was supposed to look like. And as my husband began to teach, I recognized that I was so deficient in understanding what God expected of me. And he became my mentor. He became my teacher. He became my encourager. So much so that for birthdays and holidays, he would give me Bible books and study guides. And I'm like, wait a minute. I still like, the fun stuff. I can buy these books myself, but I was so grateful for that. Moving into this season, thinking about mentorship, I think that, and you mentioned that I work with Pastors' Widows group. They have been my biggest support. They see in me what I don't see in myself. And when they say it or they speak it, and I'm like, oh, don't say that. That's not me, because there's still those old tapes that play in my head about my value and my worth. But they have been my biggest supporters. And I have told them this. You have been a real blessing to me. You have come alongside and you have engaged in this conversation about the journey of grief. But you've also encouraged me, because I've been widowed the longest, I think 17 years. And I think the youngest widow is like 2 years into the loss of her husband. But the things that they say and the encouragement, we did a video 2 weeks ago for the holidays, grief and the holidays. And just before we got started, I went, oh my goodness, I'm really nervous, because we went live. And one of the ladies said, you nervous? And I laughed, because yes, every time I'm nervous. But they've been my greatest supporters. They've been my big supporters. They've been there for me. And the fellowship that we have, the laughter, the tears, the praise has just been, what's that song? The wind beneath my wings. And so I'm so grateful for each and every one of them. And I never want to forget to tell them thank you for just being there for me. No matter how you see me, listen, I see you as this great voice of hope, not just for widows or those who are going through grief, but for women who need to hear the story of, you may see my glory, you don't know my story. So let me tell you my story and tell you how God has intervened and how he has worked.
Thank you. Thank you. That's lovely to hear. So the ladies you've been journeying with, as you said, the widows you've been journeying with have been a big support to you, and they look up to you, and it's been encouraging to you as well. Would you say that some maybe you have friends or family members? Have you been let down? This is how
Have I been?
let
I
down.
have been let down. I don't want to be too specific. I don't want to call anyone out, but I feel like ministry to a certain extent has let me down. And I don't think just me, but many people. I know that ministries are trying to figure out how to do this thing in this season. But I also think that because they've taken it on, administration has taken it on, that they have not tapped into the reservoir of members who are able to bring their skill sets, their expertise to help broaden and enlarge the territory, which is a great opportunity in this season. Technologically, it is a great opportunity, but the circle is closed. It's pretty closed. and what we get is the end product,
Yeah.
but we don't have an opportunity to add our voice to the conversation.
Yeah.
That again goes back to, see, part of that is my pride. That goes back to saying, I have some great ideas that this would work and that would work and the other would work. See, so I have to recognize that.
Yeah.
So, but I think that ministries, and not just this one specific ministry or that specific ministry, ministries need to understand, no matter how you started, you may not have known a thing about Zoom or a social media platform, but in your assembly, there are individuals who say, I am ready to step into this, to support you in this work, not for me, but for God's glory. I'm ready to do what has to be done. And so I've seen it, you know, in different ministries, and I've thought, wow, I know that you have people in your assembly that can step up and do. But again, because this process is on the job training, I get it. But I think that rather than staying connected to what was in place when we could go into the sanctuary, you also need to talk about putting out calls and saying, hey, we need this. We want to make this happen. Supporting ministries that are sprouting up in your assembly, that are on their own saying, okay, I will go out and feed the homeless. And so you ask as a ministry, how can we support you in this work? You know? So it's reciprocal, you know, that I'm not just waiting for you to make me feel good with a sermon on Sunday, because the work is not on just on Sunday. It's throughout the week. How are your members being impacted? Who is in place to reach out to those individuals? Can you use a greater number of people to reach out and to make sure that members are feeling connected or feeling seen or feeling heard? So, you know, again, I always have to separate pride, thinking that I have the solution, but also hoping that ministries will take advantage of the people within their assemblies who are ready to do the work, who are sitting at home saying, what's my place? Who cares about what I can do? So if anything, it's just that ministries need to stretch and grow and trust God in it and take the step and ask God to reveal to you who's there that knows how to do this and doesn't care about a dollar sign, doesn't care about being paid, just wants to do the work. It's an opportunity for ministries to gain members. There's a church I follow in Maryland who next week is opening their doors to membership to people who don't live in their area.
Okay.
So they're becoming global to a certain extent, you know, national and global. It's a big step. It's different. But again, the season of opportunity. You don't know until you try.
You don't know until you try.
Right.
If you were to describe 2020 from 1 to 5 words,
unexpected, absolutely. Just, you know, everyone at the beginning of the year, I don't do resolutions. I don't do that because I know by the third day, it's not going to happen. But, right. I got the list and made the rest, you know, but by the third day, I resolved not to eat any sweets in 2020. And by the third day, I'm looking at the sweet potato pie that's still left over and nobody's touching it. So, you know, I don't want it to go to waste. So I might as well do the sacrifice and eat the pie, right? So I don't do resolutions, but unexpected. We're going along, things are going on well. We hear about this thing over in China somewhere and we go, wow, that's something, you know, and we hear about how it may have come into place. We're like, ooh, why? And we're going along, and then March, and I remember the date, March 13th was when my school closed. It said we're not coming back on the campus. March 13th, everything shifted, everything changed. Totally unexpected. What will this look like? Then from unexpected to challenging. I'm in the house for 4 or 5 months before I even dare to go outside. Or if I go outside just to go outside and I come back in the house. So it was challenging. What do I do in this season? You know, because again, going back to you're used to doing, I was used to getting up and going to work and doing that work. I was used to on Sundays going to church. I was used to going to rehearsals for the praise and worship team. All of that totally wiped out. And so it's challenging in how we do things, challenging in how now praise and worship is you get the vocal guides, you record the voice and the video at home. And now you're looking at yourself in the video and you're thinking, oh gosh, that's not a good look there. But you got to send it in and you have to get the notes right. And you're hoping that the director of music is not going, what in the world is this? So you're challenging. So I go from the unexpected to the challenging to next.
Yeah.
What's next? I don't know. What's next? What am I supposed to do in this season? Now I'm realizing it's opportunity and time. So I'm going from unexpected to challenging to next. What is my next?
Yeah.
And so I'm beginning to discover my next, discover the things that have always been in place, but I'm great at procrastinating. So I'm the great procrastinator. I'll start it and then I'll put things off. So I've learned that do it in the moment. I've become very intentional, going back to my definition of hope. I used to, if I dropped something, I drop a pen on the floor, I'll come back and pick it up. You know, I'll get it later. And now it's no, do it now.
Yeah.
When it comes to you, do it now. Don't wait, do it now. When someone's name comes to you, do it now. Call them, reach out to them, do it now. So I guess I've gone from unexpected to challenging to next to now.
Okay.
Yeah. Unexpected, challenging, next, and now.
Yeah.
What am I to do now?
Yeah. Wow. I think 2020 is also kind of like confirmed the Bible's words about the end of time.
Yes.
It's been amazing how, you know, the prophecies we hear from Revelation, even the New Testament, we have a little bit of, you know, a glimpse of what is going to come. So I think kind of like I think it developed more faith in the end of time and Jesus's words, you know, in every single Christian who hasn't lost their faith, because let's face it, Christians have used 2021 to grow their faith and to go deep, and while others have kind of like deserted, you know, Christianity, and you know, with all the difficulties and chaos, they kind of like, okay, I'm renouncing Christianity and I'm definitely giving up on Christ. So I think to me is also being this. Wow, so the Bible is just so real that all the things are taking place. You know, it's been a big call to us all just to keep on plugging in, to keep on doing what God is called us to do, and to redeem the time, because Christ will soon be coming. We don't know when, and we don't want to do a false prophecy. You know, a lot of people have been saying,
giving gifts and everything, coming on this day.
We don't want to say that, but
right.
Yeah, that the Bible is true and Jesus is true, is the Lord, is the Savior of the world, He is God, and He is coming soon, because what He said taking place. So yes. So are you satisfied with who you are right now, or you thinking, oh, there's more thing I need to work on? I want to become better in the years to come, not only in 2021, but in the years to come. And how are you strategizing to get to this place?
This past Sunday, I'm not one for, people talk about how they stay in bed. They can stay in bed all day. I'm not one for staying in bed.
Yeah.
But this past Sunday, I woke up just weighed down, and thought, see, I thought I'm staying in bed all day long.
Right.
I'm not getting up. But the Lord would not let me stay in bed all day. He said, oh yeah, you will get up. Get up. You cannot, because I tried to go back to sleep. I'm just going to stay here and sleep all day. It did not happen. So I got up. When I got up, I didn't get dressed like I usually do. Because when I get up, I dress like I'm going somewhere. You know, just jeans and top. But I didn't. I stayed in my robe all day. And I decided that I'll just feel sorry for myself today.
Wow.
I will just have a pity party today. But as I worked through that, you know, feeling of, oh my gosh, I don't feel like doing it, I realized that I am changing, even in this season. I am becoming less focused on what isn't. Remember, it goes back to being wired for worry. I'm less focused on what isn't, and I want to see what is. You mentioned faith. And I think of Hebrews 11:1, which is a familiar passage to many, that now faith is the substance of things hoped for. Those first two words, now faith, not yesterday faith, not tomorrow faith, but now faith. And as I mused on Hebrews 11:1 earlier this year, because I really struggled with, okay, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. What does that mean? And I realized, okay, faith is the substance of things hoped for. So I get up and I trust God that he will do what he says he will do, that he is who he says he is. But that evidence of things not seen always tripped me up. I don't know. I had a Sunday school teacher when I was 14 try to explain it to us. But, you know, 14 years old, what are you listening to about, let me explain to you Hebrews 11:1. Yeah, right, okay. But I realized the evidence of things not seen is the faith I live out every day. I'm that evidence. And I it's a concept that I'm still wrestling with, but I'm that evidence. It's the substance of things hoped for. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. Those things I put out there, those things I believe, but it's the evidence. I'm that evidence of things not seen. Dr. Tony Evans says, faith is acting like it is so, even when it isn't so, simply because God said so, in order for it to be so. Yes. Acting like it is so, when it isn't so, simply because God said so, in order for it to be so. So it's getting up and moving forward. And I think that I have grown in trusting God in the void. Trusting God in the void. And that's tough, to trust him in the void when you don't see anything in place. But God is still there.
Wow. I like your definition of faith by the events. It's really good. Um, have you got some goals and priorities for 2021? And once again, how are you working on those goals to take place? Yeah.
My one goal is to be consistent
Yeah.
in that which I do.
Yeah.
I am not as consistent as I should be. My
Okay.
blogs are languishing on the vine that I need to get back to. And so that gets back to, and the one goal is to lay everything out before God and said, okay, I have all these things in place, but it's not necessarily your priority for me. So that's the one goal, is to put it all out there and to just pray over it and allow God to show me that which I need to let go and that which I need to move forward with. I want to get back to the podcasting because I love the talking and the sharing.
I really enjoy your stuff. Not
you.
just enjoy your articles and the way you write on
Thank you.
the
So I want to get back to that. I want to be consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get back to that. I want to get back to the blogs.
Yeah.
I had a vision for I'm calling it Faith Works Now. Just getting on, doing a live through Zoom, having conversations with people, or just getting on and talking about some things that I feel like are pertinent to the times. Because I not only do faith things, I do pop culture things too. What's going on in the world, and let's take a look at it and let's talk about it. Faith Works Now would be a live once a week where I would come on, either have individuals come on and we'd have a conversation, kind of like a radio talk show, not quite because it's going to be on Facebook and Instagram, but just doing that and building that, because I like the talking, I like the engagement, I like the interviewing, I like digging deep into what people are doing. I just had an interview with a couple that feed the homeless, and it's just the husband and wife, and they're doing what they can. The wife has a business that gets shut down during COVID, so that income is not coming in, but their resources they have, they're out there doing it. I want to talk to people who are doing things like that. How dare you step out into a world, number one, COVID, and you're dealing with the homeless, and then you don't have the resources, but you're feeding in 3 different locations every week. Tell me about yourselves. And I want them to get their story out there so that those who do have the resources can pour into them. So my goal, number one, is to be consistent, and then to build up the podcast and this Faith Works Now, and then to continue with the blogs, and then my daily live on Facebook, just to see where God wants me to be and what he wants me to do. I think we all have to take a moment to sit still, to be still, and to hear God. Right. That's one of the disciplines of being a disciple, is to having that time with God, just stealing away. And it's not about the habit, it's about the person. You are meeting God in a place for a particular time to talk with him, but also to listen and to think on his word and what is his direction. People, how do I know what God wants me to do? Well, tell me how much are you in the word? Because see, God talks to us through his word, or he'll use his word to reveal things to us. So you're pondering and wondering and worrying. I want to know, how much time do you sit still in the presence of God to hear what he has to say and to think on his word? So yeah, I have grown, and I try not to talk myself out of growth because of chronologically the season that I'm in. Because I don't know how it is with you guys, but in America, as you age, then you become less valued. You don't bring anything to the table. Elders are not revered as they are in other cultures. And so as you get older, unfortunately, even in the church, then you become a part of that group called the seasoned saints. And the seasoned saints get together and they go out to restaurants and they eat and they, connect with one another. And that connection is very important. But I wonder about the wisdom that the seasoned saints have, the experiences, the things that they have seen. Can you tap into that wisdom? And so I'm refusing to buy into, you're too old for that. Your season is over. When God says my season is over, then my season is over. But my age does not declare my season is over. Not in God's economy. Oh my goodness. Moses, all of you old people doing these fantastic things. Why not now? Why not?
Abraham, Sarah.
Absolutely. All of that. So age, if you don't mind, it doesn't matter. It's mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's so awesome. Like, I am so blessed to have you. And I'm not closing. We have a few more questions to go, but as you just speaking, I can feel the passion. I can feel the joy as well. And it is contagious, and it's really beautiful. And I bless God for your life. I know that our viewers and listeners will be blessed by what you're saying. So, are you believing for better things to happen in 2021? Are you believing for better things? Do you think things will improve?
Yeah. I think it's a process. Yeah. We don't know what that process looks like. In America, we're celebrating the election of a new president and a vice president. A new thing happening, a woman of color being in that high office as vice president is exciting, but all of it is a process that we will have to go through. the interesting thing about my view of 2020 and 2021 is that I have no expectations. And I know that sounds,
I
ooh,
agree. I
heavy
think
sound,
it's wise. I think it's not rude. It is wise.
right? Yeah. I have no expectations other than that God is
Yeah.
still in control. And so I'm doing my best to follow his lead in
Yeah.
this new normal, this
Yeah.
new season.
Yeah.
So I'm not building expectations into next year. I'm not building expectations into today. I'm just wanting God to speak, to show me, to define for me this moment. Define for me this moment. My expectation, and I know, I'm not trying to come off as saying high, lofty, spiritual, oh my God, she just really knows the Lord and look at her. I'm not trying to do that. What I am trying to do is to say the one expectation is to trust God will be who he says he is, that he can do what he says he can do, that he is concerned about the things that concern me, and that he can take care of not just the great big things, but he's interested in the little tiny things that worry and trouble and challenge me, that he is God who has written my name on his hand, tells me I'm the apple of his eye, that he is concerned about me, that Jesus said, I come that you might have a full and meaningful life. The thief comes to rob, kill, and destroy. I have come that you might have life and have it more abundantly, not in the abundance of things, but just full and meaningful, a life that speaks of joy. And joy is not natural to me. Okay, going back to the worrier. But I find that more and more, I'm able to look at things and say, that's beautiful. Oh my God, I'm learning to celebrate everyone else. Just pull back from Donna and celebrate everyone else. To say that's fantastic, that's wonderful. I joined a woman's Bible study. Actually, I stalked the leader and invited myself. She's a friend from years and years. And she posted, okay, we're starting a Bible study. I went, me. And I went into that study because no one knew who I was. So there were no expectations of me except for the lady who knew me from, the 80s forward. And so I was silent most of the time in the study. I came to glean. And every now and then she would say something and I would go, don't tell them. Don't say that. Don't mention it. Because I just wanted to receive. I just wanted to receive. And I think if we think about that as we move into 2021, Lord, what I want is to receive from you your guidance. I want to receive from you your peace. I want to receive from you your joy. You're my shepherd. You're my healer. You're my peace. You love me beyond what I could even imagine. And so what I want to receive from you is your joy, your peace, your love, so that I might dispense it to others, that I might give it out to others, that I might say, I know you're in a tough place now. So let's talk. Let's see if we can petition God and ask him to move in your life. So it's really about that growth for me of just trusting God for the next and next. So my expectation is that God will continue to be God. And I hope I will be a better follower. There's it. I want to be a better follower.
Absolutely. What we want our viewers to understand, we would like you to know that the world, and I'm not here to discourage people from having hope for a better world. We all pray for that. But face it, the Bible describes the end times even more difficult, and tribulations will be the share of Christians, especially. And we need to expect difficulties and troubles. But what will bring us victory, like Lady Donna said, is to know that God is still God. As tribulation will come, but hey, Christ has overcome. Somebody defeated the enemy, and this is where I rest that the Lord is my refuge in the time of trouble, to know that even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. And to know that he that dwelleth in the shadow of the Almighty shall, it is to know those things. And that is the point of this whole talk show. This is
Yeah.
the point of the chat. It is a chat. It is simple. We're laughing, we're talking, but I want to encourage people and say, look, the world is not necessarily, because we don't hold the future, Donna and myself, the
Yeah.
world is not necessarily going to be better. It could become better. But if it doesn't get better, you can live above the circumstances, both personal and global, because you have Christ. And Christ in you is the hope of glory. Christ,
Yeah.
he has overcome the world. He says that even if companies shut down and even
Oh,
if you lose your job, it says, look, I will provide to your needs according to my great riches. He
yeah.
actually said that he will provide according to the great riches of your boss or your company or the bank accounts. So
Mhm.
to understand in 2021 that we need to live above the global and personal circumstances, based and founded on the truth of God's word. We need to live by faith, not by sight.
Yeah.
We need to have our affection set on Christ and
Things about.
above. Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
We also need to understand that our joy should not and must not depend on our circumstances. And I love Habakkuk. I want to insist on this bit because that's where God spoke to me. We've seen a lot of Christians defeated in 2020, and
Hmm.
we've seen people living their faith. We've seen a lot of people really in chaotic situation because of
Yeah.
what has happened. We want you to be prepared. That's okay.
Mhm.
No matter what come my way, I'm going to rejoice in the Lord. Habakkuk
Yes.
17 to 19 said, he said, though the fig tree shall not blossom,
Oh, yes.
though nothing happens in my life, no things are going wrong in the whole world, but I will rejoice in
Yeah.
God of my salvation.
Hallelujah.
Where we need to be, and we need to rest in Christ for the coming years,
Absolutely.
regardless of our circumstances. And before we close, we go to our last question with our what is the reason for your hope? I mean, if you had a little bit of hope for a better 2021, what gives you this hope?
There are two things, as you were talking about faith and about living above your circumstances. I thought about Jeremiah 29, that everyone loves to quote, that I know the thoughts I have for you, the plans to bring you to a future and a hope. And as I was looking at that text and thinking about that text, I went back to the first 10 verses. And in the first 10 verses, God tells Israel, who is in captivity,
Yeah,
build your houses here,
yeah,
get married here, have children here, give your children in marriage here. And he goes all the way down through, those first 10 verses. He said, for I know the plans I have for you. So make your peace in the place where you are right now, because I have a plan for you. Now, the thing that really comes to me is that it was 70 years before the plan was fulfilled. And so some of those people that had received the word of the prophet, that I know the plans I have for you. The prophet said, God says he'll bring you to a future and hope. Did not live to see
yeah.
that future or that hope, but they could live in that place aware that God had a plan for them. And so they lived their life above their circumstance. They weren't living in captivity. They were living above captivity. They were in captivity, but they were living above captivity because God had spoken to them, I have a plan for you.
Yeah.
And so we must realize God has a plan in all of this. We may not live to see how it turns out. We would love to see how it turns out, but God has a plan in place for all of this. These are the captives who said in one of the Psalms, how can we sing Zion's song in a strange land? And as I looked at that, I thought, you know what? You just sing. That's how you sing Zion's song in a strange land. You sing. You hung your harp on a willow tree, take it down.
Yeah.
Start playing it and sing.
Yeah.
So a hymn comes to me, my hope is built on nothing less but Jesus' blood and righteousness. I dare not trust the sweetest frame, but wholly lean on Jesus' name. On Christ, the solid rock, I stand. All other ground is sinking sand. The government, I don't care how great their plans are, sinking sand. Family, I love them to pieces, but I cannot have my foundation on my family. My foundation is on Christ, the solid rock. And when I am distressed, I have a favorite psalm, Psalm 61. Hear my cry, O God, attend to my plea. From the ends of the earth will I cry unto thee when my heart is overwhelmed. And yes, we are in overwhelming times. When my heart is overwhelmed, I need you to lead me to the rock, back to the rock, that is higher than I. So that overwhelmed is like a person drowning. Before I drown, lead me to that rock, that rescue. Isaiah 43 says, okay, though the floods come, though the fires come, though all of this comes, you will not be affected because I am your God. I am your refuge. I am your shelter. I am the one who still is. I am self-existent, needing nothing and no one to hold me in place. Build your foundation on me. And so that's what I'm thinking for 2021 is that, as you said, live above those circumstances. Trust God. Believe that God has a plan for you. And you can trust that he will bring it to pass. If not for you, for the next generation, surround yourself in prayer. Dig deep into the word of God and walk in faith. First Peter says, Jesus has left us an example that we should follow in his steps. Follow him. Luke 9:23. Follow him. That cross bearing won't be easy. But he said, if you follow me, I will take care of you. I will take care of you. And so be not dismayed, another old song, whatever betide, God will take care of you.
Wow, that's powerful. This is this is the reason why we here, Lady Donna and I, to encourage you, to stir you up, let those who haven't received Christ yet know that Jesus Christ is the only, the unique solution and answers to this humanity's troubles. We want you, Christian, to understand that even though things don't look better, you can still live victoriously. You can live a fulfilled life. And it is true. We're not just saying words. The Bible gives us so many examples. We have Daniel and his companion. They were burning in, the fire, and yet the king said, I see four men. I see four men. You threw three people in there. I see four of them. And he says, look, I can't see any burn scars over them. I cannot even smell, the smell of something burned. I think we Christians for 2021 and the years to come, that's how we need to feel. Like dramas and chaos might come, but we will be stronger and we will live even happier, Christian, because Christ commands us to rejoice because we worship a living God. Jesus is not in the tomb, he is risen. So if we live in defeat, we live in sadness, what is the hope that we're going to introduce to those we do not have Jesus Christ? So we need to don't light up. We need to keep our joy and trust on God's promises and on His word. Thank you so much.
God bless you.
And to my sister, I feel so blessed. I am blessed before the viewers. I'm
Yeah.
so thankful that God brought us together and
Mm-hmm.
it's been an amazing program. And I plan on doing another show with my sister. It will be a prayer meeting, and we'll just speak some words of life and encouragement over the lives of our viewers on Facebook. So it will be a Facebook live. I encourage you to follow because she's going to be a blessing to you all. So I just wrote this verse down. Or one king going to make war against another king, sitteth for them first and consulteth whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against him with 20,000. This is what we're doing. The year in review is like thinking on what we've been doing and trying to improve and prepare for the days and the years to come. Hope we've been a blessing today. Until we meet again, stay strong, take care, and stay safe. May the Lord bless you. See you again. Hi.
This ministry has been made possible through the support of our friends and partners.